Hello, welcome to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, continuing Chucktober with day 24, talking about Chucky Season 3, Episode 1, Murder at 1600, directed by Jeff Renfro, written by Nick Ziegler and Don Mancini, and this aired on October 4th, 2023. So I forgot to mention at the end of the previous episode, the season 2 finale, that it ended with Chucky, doing his talk show thing, breaking the fourth wall, and showing a montage of the kills of the season. So, it's not really a huge thing. It's just out of universe stuff, and it kind of, I don't really pay too much attention to that. But yeah, season 3 was different in that it was released in two parts. So, four episodes in October 2023, and then we had to wait 6 months for the other four in April and May, which was really frustrating. There's not a specific, well, at least not on this premiere episode of season three, specifically pointed out amount of passage of time, but time has passed. It's the next year. We know that Tiffany and Nika and Caroline were in New York in mid January, so this is sometime after that, the events of this episode. I think if I remember correctly, once we get back to the Tiffany storyline in this season, it does make it more clear how much time has passed. But yeah, here in this episode, we are introduced to the White House as the new setting. And I remember when this was first revealed that this would be the setting for the season, it felt kind of odd. I mean, things get politically heated in real life all the time, so I was not quite so sure about this. And taking Chucky to the White House feels like maybe the most outlandish type of setting for the franchise. Like the warehouse, a military academy, a mental institution, that's all fine. Hollywood is probably the most outlandish up until this setting, the White House. If Chucky had continued just as a film series after Cult of Chucky, I'm not really sure that we would have gotten a White House oriented movie, really. I can't really explain why I think that. It's just a feeling that I have. Like, I think because this is on TV and TV allows the franchise to go to more places, less boundaries and restrictions of runtime, more room to play around, and with the campiness of all that stuff. I just feel like because we have the TV show, that's the avenue that they were able to use the White House for. But we are introduced to the president's family. In this universe, the president is James Collins, who is played by the same actor who played the Wheeler twins and Father Bryce in the previous seasons. And not only that, but the vice president is played by the same actor who played Dr. Foley and Lexi's dad. I think Nathan was her dad's name or something. So it's pretty strange how this type of recast, reusing the same cast members in different role has become a staple of the franchise by this point. But yeah, the president has this family. He has his wife Charlotte, and they have their sons Grant and Henry. And I can't remember if we know in this episode or at a later point that I started watching this last night, the first act, and then I watched the rest of it this morning. So I don't remember if this is revealed in this episode, but Grant and Henry had another brother named Joseph who died, I think, the previous year. And so Henry finds has found a good guy doll who calls itself Joseph. And, it's obviously it's Chucky here. He's made it into the White House. But yeah, there's this. I kind of wondered if, at the time, I wondered if the name Joseph was supposed to be like a Joe Biden reference, Joseph Biden. But like they say in the episode, maybe it's just a coincidence. And because I watched this right after, within a day after the season 2 finale, where it's suggested that Caroline might be adopted, but that's a lie from Chucky. I was kind of looking at this family and being like, you know what? They look like they could be related to Caroline. And I couldn't remember if that's a reveal in this season. I haven't watched this season since the original air dates, so I don't remember if that comes into play. Probably not, to be honest. And yeah, the vice president's name is Spencer Rhodes, I should mention. Um, but yeah, there's that outage that happens, and you think that something huge is going to happen during the outage, but I don't think anything huge happened. At least I can remember. To be honest, this episode felt kind of boring to me. Like I get that it's supposed to show the new setting and also give us an updates on where the characters are now, and we do get that. We see that Jake is vlogging, talking about his sculptures, the doll sculptures, and saying that he just needs a good guy doll to complete his art, his collection, and closure and all that. So I guess this is his way of trying to get people on the internet to send him the good guy doll in case Chucky's out there, maybe. But looking at these sculpture designs, one of them, there's some that have multiple heads and one is spider like. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I feel like maybe there's a wasted opportunity here to have some sort of plot where these things come to life. Maybe Chucky or some other killer's souls get put into them and they become these creepy looking toys, like kind of like the creepy toys from Toy Story, but actually evil. Like, and I don't remember any of that happening in this season, so my gut feeling is, yeah, this never happens in this season, which is pretty disappointing. Devin has returned to podcasting despite saying in the Christmas episode that he's been over it for a year. I get the sense that he's back at it because of the urgency of Caroline being missing, having been abducted by Tiffany. And, in this podcast, he talks about the events of the town assembly and of the school and says that there's a connecting thread. You may have seen the good guy doll in pictures of these things. And he says that Charles Lee Ray, the dangers of him. And I like that we get archive footage of the previous episodes. They're very brief, and even a glimpse of the Charles Lee Ray flashback and Curse of Chucky. So that was a nice touch. And, Devin basically warning people to be careful. And Lexi, this was really cringe that she had to resort to doing this. Does these thirst traps videos for TikTok to get other users' attention. And so she does these dances and concludes these videos with mentioning her sister and showing a picture of her, and that uh, she really desperately wants information about where she is. So yeah, so this pretty much gives us the update. You do see, it does feel like much time has passed. Maybe it feels like it's a year, but I'll have to look at the later episodes and remind myself on the timeline. Yeah, it and Jake and Devin, their relationship is going well again, and they are all under the guardianship of Miss Fairchild from the looks of it, and they're doing homeschooling with her, and so she has them do tests. So it's nice that Miss Fairchild is part of the mix here and that she's aware of the Chucky of it all. Um, and Okay, yeah. So, uh, I had to remind myself here. So, the youngest son of the president's family, Joseph, died the previous year, like around winter time, from cancer, or that's yeah. I had to like remind myself here. So the president thinks that maybe the doll is a good thing for Henry, and we get the security guard. I forget what the security guy's name is, but at some point he is alone in the room with the good guy doll, and notices a little sword that the doll has, a sword or knife or something like that. But then Chucky comes to life and reaches for his gun and shoots him in the head, and then puts it in his hand so he makes it look like a suicide. And he's discovered at about around 4:12 p.m. I think, so that's why they call this murder at 1600. Charlotte finds the guy and screams, and she and her husband are under a lot of stress. At one point, they secretly take a hit from a bong, which was really surprising that they do this. And she mentions that it's one thing that they're actually able to keep secret from the public eye, I guess to keep their relationship alive or something like that. But there is suspicion over the alleged suicide. The security guy had booked tickets for, I think it's a cruise to Alaska with his wife or something, and so yeah, this is a head scratcher. And Teddy was the guy's name. Um, yeah, and there's a whole funeral for him. And meanwhile, the trio, Devin, Jake, and Lexi, they get contacted by Chucky by phone. Chucky calls Jake and gives a clue of where he is. Um, and then eventually they later see a TV broadcast where they see that Chucky is at the White House, and they decide, we're gonna kill Chucky one last time. And then I think Devin is one who says again, and it does this weird shot where the camera shows them upside down and does a spin like very slowly, and then ends on a freeze frame while the credits roll. I kind of wondered if this was an homage to something, but I'm not really sure. Um, I'm wondering if anything comes up from just a quick Google. Um, yeah, nothing comes up very quickly. But yeah, I guess this episode was mainly to reground us and show us what's the new setting, the new mission, the new status quo. Where are these characters now, and where's Chucky at? So I do understand its place and what it's trying to do. It's just like overall, I was kind of just bored by the episode. Like I'm trying to look and see if there's anything I may have forgotten to mention, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about from this episode. It's not a whole lot for me to touch on, really. So I think overall, what do I rate this? I guess it does an okay job of updating us, even though not a whole lot notable happens. It doesn't have stuff that's too frustrating, but overall it's just okay. So I guess I'd give this one a 6 out of 10. So an okay start. I do recall some good stuff happens later, especially in the part 2 portion of this season. But yeah, just taking these one by one, and we'll get back to the Tiffany and Nika situation. There's some interesting stuff there and potentially frustrating stuff there. But yeah, so that's my review of this episode. I'll be back tomorrow talking about season 3, episode 2, Let the Right One In. And thanks for tuning in to Chucktober here on Steven Should Do Reviews in video form, and I'll see you all soon.